So I'm now going to pass over to my colleague, Nicola Watson, who is the Homeshare and Shared Lives Nations Officer at Homeshare UK and Shared Lives Plus. Thank you, Nicola.
Thanks, Jess. So I was going to start by introducing just a little bit about what Homeshare is. Enables two people to share a home for mutual benefit. It's a reciprocal arrangement where both the householder and the home sharer have something that they need and something that they can give to the relationship. And a householder is usually an older person, but it doesn't need to be. It can be someone who needs a bit of company and help around the home, receives practical help and that companionship. Home sharers, usually a younger person, but again, doesn't need to be, but somebody who receives a safe and affordable place to live. And householders and home sharers share home life, time, skills, and experiences. The next slide is about the values associated with home share. So older people and those living with support needs, they have the right to remain in their own home with as much independence as they wish. And home share is a reciprocal arrangement. Both parties in the arrangement have something to offer and something to give. Um, and matching is based on interests and the ability of the home sharer to meet the needs of the householder. And that matching part is really important, which we'll go into in more detail later on. The householder and home sharer are equal and respected partners. Um, Again, both have something to give, and often it's intergenerational relationships that are created through home share. Our model at Homeshare UK, we'll go into a little bit more detail about that, and it'll be elaborated on by Emma and Audrey later on as well, how it works in practice. But the home sharer provides an agreed amount of low-level help for householders, so it's around about 10 hours a week whilst they're living in the home, and the home sharer is often out with work or studies during the day, but they're a reassuring presence at night. Somebody's going to be coming in the evening, and coming home and is there through the night. There's no elements of personal care provided by the home sharer to the householder, but it can work well alongside care services who are providing those personal care support. And creating a good match, like I said earlier, that's a good match that's a mutually agreeable social living arrangement. That's the priority, is getting a good match that can be as long lasting as the parties wish it to be. And people can refer themselves, or family and friends can inquire on their behalf. Home sharers don't pay rent, but they may contribute to household living costs, and a monthly fee is paid to the home share organisation to provide the ongoing support to make sure everything's going well. And with our model, the introductions, interviews, which again, we'll go into more detail about them later on, and some of the reviews are carried out in person. So there's that face-to-face personal touch, and you know who you're going to be working with throughout the lifetime of the match. So who are those providing home share? As part of the Homeshare UK network, we have 16 member providers across the UK, and they're charities, CICs, not-for-profit organisations or local authorities. And some services have been operating just, a short time, 1 year. Others have been going for 25 years. We've got a wide range of knowledge and skills. And our members are really a supportive and passionate group of providers. They're all kind of values-based, person-centred, and use a strengths-based approach. And we at Shared Lives Plus, we are the membership organisation for shared living. So we facilitate the network. And our home share members collaborate, learn from each other, support one another, and they all sign up to a co-produced charter, which is based on those key characteristics that were in the last slide. And together they supported over 60 matches last year. And we have an annual report that that you can have a look at on our website, and that has some of the stats and also the impact, some of the stories of the impact that Homeshare can have as well. And I'm going to pass it over to two of our members. We've got Emma from Leeds Homeshare and Audrey from Homeshare West, and they'll take you more through the process in depth.
Morning, everybody. Yes, I'm Emma Harris. I work for Leeds Homeshare. We're part of the local authority. I'm going to elaborate on some of Nicola's points, and I'm sure that Audrey later will also elaborate on some of my points. It's just a little bit of a more detailed overview of how Homeshare works. So as Nicola mentioned, the householder is often an older person, or it might be a disabled person, or somebody who's possibly a family carer, or working age adult who's maybe feeling isolated. So it can really appeal to a lot of different people. And they're the person that's usually looking for that help or company or overnight presence in their home. And the home sharer is sometimes a younger adult who might be a professional or student. There's not always a big age gap. You know, sometimes there can be a significant one. Other times it's much more narrow. But we do often say it's an intergenerational living project. And the home share would offer around 10 hours support each week to the householder when they're living in the property. And that can be practical help and support around the home. Might be with practical things such as putting the bins out, helping with the washing, tidying, walking the dog, that kind of thing. But they also give that reassurance from being in the home and living in the property with the householder, that overnight presence. We do say that we ask people who are going to be home sharing to commit to a minimum of 6 months. And that's so that there's not somebody frequently moving in and out of the property. So it provides that stability and support to the householder. Within Homeshare, you might be wondering about the costs. There is a small fee that each party would pay to the Homeshare service. And that's for the viability and continuing involvement of the provider to make sure that it can run successfully. So just a bit more depth and detail about the home share process. And it's really our process which gives people that support and reassurance to proceed with home sharing, we find. So first of all, if a householder contacts us and they're interested in home sharing, we'd spend a bit of time speaking to them on the phone, getting to know their needs and requirements, but also do a home visit where we'd sort of get to know them in greater depth, understand what they're looking for, what specific support might meet their needs. And then also around that, we would do the home safety check. So that gives everybody that reassurance when they're starting a home share, you know, that the house is safe and secure, that there are fire checks in place, that the property is suitable for somebody else to move into. And if necessary, we can put onward referrals around fire safety in the home as well. And we'd also check the accommodation is suitable for a sharer to move into, and it's furnished and there's a nice living space for somebody to move into. Alongside this, while we're trying to recruit a home sharer to live with the householder, we'd be doing similar checks for them, an interview process, which Audrey is going to speak about in more detail later. For all parties, we would do reference checks. And alongside that, we also do the DBS police check, which is checking if there's a criminal record. If somebody has not lived in the UK for the last 10 years, I think it is, we also do what's called an overseas police check. So from their previous country, we'd be contacting, or we've been asking them to provide evidence that they have a police certificate. We also do right to rent checks. So although we're not creating a tenancy agreement in home sharing, we do also check that people have the right to rent and live in the UK, which is our obligation as a home share provider. And we check that it's financially viable for people to take part, you know, that they can afford it, an ID check. So we're really thorough in our processes. You know, before we're even suggesting people live together, we want to get all those checks in place to make sure that we're satisfied as a provider that it's a suitable home share to go ahead. Within Leeds, and I think other services as well, also have a financial guidance policy. So that's more for when you're living in a home share, that we're giving guidance around what's acceptable in terms of home share arrangements, such as, for example, not going on a householder's will or not sharing bank details, etc., not giving financial advice. Common sense measures to make sure that a home share runs safely and appropriately. Thank you. So once a home share is established, and I think Audrey is going to talk a bit more about how that might come about later, you would find that in a home share, a household would benefit from companionship and friendship. help with everyday tasks, which we spoke about. That can cover so many different possibilities, which is why we say it's a flexible and creative service. So I talked about help with cleaning, putting the bins out, maybe social support, going out to cafes together. I had once a householder who said she just really valued the fact that the sharer could reach the high places, you know, the top cabinets, the top shelves, and get things out. Another householder really appreciated somebody making her a hot water bottle every day for her aches and pains. You know, there's so many possibilities of help that can occur in a home share. And alongside that, often people talk about the positives of knowing that there's somebody in the home, and that gives them that peace of mind. Having somebody else should something happen, or just even if there's like a cold caller at the door, you know that there's somebody else there that could help with that unexpected people turning up at the property. And it can also give that peace of mind for family as well, knowing that their relative has got somebody in the home offering that help and support and peace of mind. Meals, we've put meals cooked occasionally, but we find in our service meals are often quite a big thing with home shares. So people often want to share meals together. So some people take it in turns, other people, the sharer really enjoys cooking, but they sit down to eat together. I find it's a big thing, especially if it's a householder who's maybe living on their own or been living on their own for some time, but previously had other family there. It can be really companionable and a nice way to sort of end the day, having that evening meal together and a check-in. There's no obligation, of course. You know, these are the kind of tasks and support that would be agreed together between a sharer and a householder. So it's what works around everybody's schedules and needs and preferences. We spoke about overnight presence in the home. Something that comes to mind for myself is that there was recently a smoke alarm going off in somebody's house late at night, so the sharer was able to help with that. You know, so any small extra support can be a real benefit to a householder. It can give people that confidence and independence to carry on living in their home the way they wish to, you know, and happily at home rather than having to think about other community options. Um, One of the other things we talk about in home share, which we think is really important, is the ongoing support from the coordinator. So the coordinator, such as myself and Audrey and from the other services, would really spend time getting to know the householder and getting to know the sharer and offer that ongoing support and presence throughout a match. So it's not just up to the point of two people living together, it's onwards as well. And that can be to sort of talk through any minor issues or just for information and support. We quite often find that we refer people on to other community services or make people aware of other support options that are out there. For example, telecare might be one that we might refer people on to, or even recently I've got a new sharer who's moved into a property who doesn't know the area very well, so I'm sort of signposting her to different community facilities. So it works for sharers and householders. So that is the role of the coordinator, providing that ongoing support. We say in the first month it's a trial. Hopefully by that point everybody's already spent some time getting to know each other, been introduced, met several times. But if people decided they didn't want to proceed at the end of the trial or at any point in the match, we're there as well to help end the match smoothly and look at future sharers and options for participants. And I'm just going to hand over to Audrey now regarding recruiting home sharers.
Okay. Remember to unmute myself. Hello, everyone. Audrey Hurd. I've been running Homeshare now for 26 years. I know Emma's been running it for quite a considerable time in Leeds as well, but 26 years in my area, which is basically Greater Bristol, so Bristol, Bath and surrounding areas. So I'm speaking from quite a background there. So when it comes to recruiting a home sharer, I will have already interviewed the householder. As Emma has explained, I will have done a detailed interview with the householders, probably spent 2 or 3 hours with them, getting to know them also with a family member present, because I do want their family involved, or a good friend of theirs involved. So when I've got a grasp of what it is that the householder wants from a home sharer and what kind of person they would like to share with, then I can look at recruiting a home sharer. So we advertise on Spare Room, and so each advertisement is tailored to the specific householder that I'm looking for. We get a lot of responses. We probably get about 30 responses for one useful response. It's people will reply to an advertisement saying, "Is it still available?" No, that's not what we're asking for. So we do ask them to go to the website to get a grasp of what home sharing is before they get in touch. Once we have got somebody that we think might be suitable, there's probably a quick telephone call just to check that they have looked at the website and they are genuinely interested. And then we would arrange to do a telephone interview, which would take about half an hour, 45 minutes. And that telephone call really is, as it says, I want to know that they've really got what home sharing is about. They understand this commitment to sleep in the house every night, not have overnight visitors, that kind of thing. Bit about their background, but I definitely need to know that they are employed. I saw there's a question in the chat just now. We do need them to have income, because the family of the householder wants reassurance that the home sharer, the stranger who is coming to stay with them, to live with them, can support themselves. So, and that's why we maybe part-time employment, but we do need to know that that they have employment. And Emma's already covered right to rent. So having done a telephone interview, given them some information, collected information, if they then decide they want to go ahead and I think that they would be suitable for this particular householder, then arrange for the face-to-face interview, which is probably going to take about 2 hours. Usually meeting in a cafe somewhere, because I work from home, so there's not an office set up. Meet them, go through everything with them, make sure that they really understand what they're applying for, what home sharing is all about. And then, given that they definitely want to go ahead, and I think they're still right for this particular householder, then I will telephone the referees. I need 2 telephone references. And I spend about 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, speaking with each referee about this home sharer. I need to know the qualities, the characteristics, what kind of person. Are they kind? Are they caring? Are they helpful? Are they reliable? All those kinds of things. Having done the telephone reference, I'll then email a reference inquiry form to them to say, any further thoughts, please let me have them. As Emma's mentioned, the DBS check, enhanced adult DBS check. Sometimes they've already got them, but if they haven't registered for the update service, then we have to do it again. Once we've done all the interview process, the recruitment process, then it's draw up a profile to send to the family to say, would you like to meet this particular household, this particular sharer? And if the householder and the householder's family would like to meet, we then arrange an introduction, which I think, but I'll just a little bit more. The next slide, please. Just to go through a little bit before I go on to the introduction part. So just to be clear, we do need home sharers working, studying. If they're doing a master's or a PhD, a doctorate, they're normally spending a lot of time on the computers in the home or at uni, but they are, I've had a few people doing their doctorates and it's worked really well. We do want them to help out with household tasks, but Emma has already said some of this. We do want them to spend time with the householder. The 10 hours of time is roughly half of that is about doing stuff, and the other half is about making sure that they're being good company for the householder, as much company as the householder wants. And of course, the obvious things there about their personality, their characteristics, and the fact that they are quite happy to be sleeping in the house at night without anyone else. And I leave it at that. And then from a householder's point of view, we do expect that they will give their sharer a warm welcome, that the home that's giving them is one where you or I would like to be living in, I guess. For a lot of home sharers, the fact that they're moving into a safe environment has a lot to do with why they want to home share. And I think the rest of it speaks for itself, doesn't it? Some of them say they've lived in shared houses and it's messy. They're having to do the clearing up, or it's noisy, so they would rather live in a home sharing arrangement. And certainly the mutual support that they give each other, rent-free accommodation, but contribute to utilities. So this final bit, having interviewed the householder, having interviewed the home sharer, and decided, yes, I think, or we think, as it's an individual, it's a coordinated decision, thinking that they will probably get on. We're looking at, do they both want to live with the same kind of people, i.e. age range, easy to talk to, a good conversation, perhaps shared interests, maybe something about their backgrounds. They might both have been people who like traveling, or connections with particular countries, or particular interests. So there's quite a lot there that comes into matching up on preferences and routines. And then, of course, what does the householder want done for the 10 hours, within the 10 hours, and can the home sharer do what's needed? So we're looking at the potential compatibility between having met the householder, having met the sharer, and got to know them quite well. If we then think that they are going to be right together, we can then exchange profiles. We can give them information about each other, and then they can decide if they want to meet. If they do want to meet, then I will take the sharer along to meet the householder and the householder's family member or friend, and we'll probably spend an hour, 2 hours getting to know each other, having a look around the house, discussing. It takes a while. That's why it's about 2 hours. Just settling down and beginning to establish that relationship between them. After a couple of hours, we've probably been through everything. We will then, say, would you like to meet again to make up your minds? Definitely. And most people do meet a second time. I have known people meet twice, 3 times if there's a bit of a gap involved. But once they've had those meetings and they've definitely decided they want to go ahead, then I will draft a home sharing agreement which sets out expectations, what the householder will do for the home sharer offer, what the sharer can do for the householder, and some sort of ground rules about living together. And if they both agree, that when we've got the agreement agreed, then we can make the move in. And so again, the move in, I would be along there. I always attend a move in to get the agreement signed, to make sure that they're both happy together. So maybe a move-in would take about an hour, and that they both got move-in packs. So it's a move-in pack for the sharer, move-in pack for the householder, which again sets out some ground rules, tips for home sharing together, and a little bit more on financial guidance that Emma's mentioned. So home sharing works, and it's about it starts with that interview process with the coordinator getting to know the householder, getting to know the householder's family, and building that relationship. The same with the home sharer, to get into the home sharer so that both the home sharer and the householder can trust that what the coordinator is doing is in their best interests, in that they wouldn't put people together if we don't think it would work. We wouldn't put people together. It's very detailed, very depth, and we do care a lot about the matches that we make. I think my longest match lasted just under 7 years, and that householder for the last 3 or 4 years of her life had had a live-in carer, but she still wanted a home share because the home sharer brought in another dimension. So the home share gave her something else in her life other than care. It was about company. It was about Mackie D on a Saturday morning, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's about, and I'm so pleased to have had so many good matches and people I know well, just chat up, talk to on occasions, but always staying in touch to make sure everything's running smoothly.
Thank you, Audrey. That was really detailed, and I think you've really put across the amount of work and effort that goes in just to make a really successful and positive match. And that people sometimes say to me, "Oh, are you will you place me in a home share? And it's not about that. We're not placing people, we're helping people to get to know each other and decide if it's the right match for them once we've gone through all our processes and checks. So our promise, as said, is those thorough interviews and background checks and references, DBS, those supervised introductions to determine if they might want to home share, and the follow-up meeting. So we're not putting pressure on people to make swift decisions, and often it is a bit of a lengthy process because we need to get it right for everybody. The home share agreement that Audrey mentioned, and supervised move-in ongoing contact, just to make sure that things are running smoothly and that it's a successful and long-lasting positive match and outcome for everybody.
So Ruth says, I work with younger disabled adults. Are these homeowners sometimes involved in home shares?
Younger adults, yes. Younger adults can be householders in home sharing arrangements. Is that your intention, Ruth? Your question?
Yes, Ruth says yes. Could we hear more about the help to end the match, in brackets, if it's needed?
It depends really whether it's the sharer that wants to move on, which does inevitably happen. You know, Audrey, discussed her long-standing match of 7 years. We've got one at the moment that's 2 years, but there will inevitably come a point where the home sharer wants to move on. Sometimes that's due to relocating for work, or they've saved up to buy a house, or a partner, etc. We do ask people in that situation to give a month's notice, so it gives us time to start promoting and looking for another sharer to move into the property. That's the ideal. Of course, sometimes there may also be a situation where the householder doesn't want to continue with the home share, and whether it's that specific arrangement's not working for them, or they don't want to do home share anymore as well. Again, in that situation, we ask that they give notice so the home share has got an opportunity to find somewhere else to live. We can certainly signpost the sharers to spare room and other accommodation options, but they do enter the arrangement knowing that there will be a notice period given to them. The only time where that doesn't apply is if, for example, if the match didn't go well for whatever reason. So if the trial didn't go well, you know, we could say actually that's the end of the match now, and ask the sharer to move out. But I must say that's incredibly rare, and that is because of those thorough processes and checks that we've done even before we get to the stage of people moving in together and the introductions, etc. But we do have those opportunities and options in place if needed to support a sharer to move out more quickly than previously anticipated. As I said, it's usually in a planned manner to help both parties prepare for either the next sharer or their next accommodation.
Somebody else in the chat asked if home share supports both men and women, and yes, the answer to that is absolutely yes. And there's another question, which is, are there situations where the home sharer is reluctant or refuses to leave and there is a need to escalate, e.g. involve a legal process?
Never had that happen. In 26 years, never happened.
I was just going to say the way that the arrangements are set up, it kind of means that the home sharer doesn't have tenancy rights. It's not a tenancy agreement that they've signed, so they don't have kind of the legal right to stay in the home once the home share comes to an end.
The first video is of John and Nick, who are a household with Homeshare West. They were actually recently nominated to our Shared Lives Plus Shared Living Awards and received a really lovely special mention from the judges. So I'm going to play this video, which really captures the essence of their relationship and the friendship that they've built from Homeshare.
I was a widower. Here I was, because I was an amputee, confined to the ground floor. So I knew there was a lot of house that could do somebody some good. I'd actually lobbied Parliament about a housing crisis. My very good friend has a housemate called Mel. And Mel had actually had experience of home share.
I think I had a friend who did this maybe 10 years ago. He just said he was living with an older gentleman and helped out. I just went to spareroom.com, looked on there. And I thought, this seems a bit too good to be true. Here we are, basically. So yeah, it's got to be at least, I don't know, 10% of what I would pay in terms of rent. In the private sector is shocking, and this is brilliant. Allows you to save and prepare for the future. So
This location is very useful.
oh, perfect job. Yes, walking distance to where I work, and it's a nice community to live in.
After all, one of the things was about companionship, all sorts of ways we talk
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
things, and there's playful banter
Yeah,
in all sorts of
fantastic.
ways as
So,
well.
yeah. John is my scientific advisor, my local community advisor. So and also the Postmaster General. He's a weatherman. He's just so many strings to his bow.
He really is at home with the internet. Bless him, he helped me acquire this, and he's gradually helping me feel at home with it. In addition, he's been very helpful with getting me involved with the internet. So straightforward, I mean, genuinely straightforward, Audrey. The introduction took place in this room.
Yeah, exactly. I like the fact that it was a long, in-depth interview because it gave me confidence in the process then, and I thought this is a real thing, and it's got authority and it's authentic. I've been very lucky to be paired with John. John is a fantastic individual.
Yes, that is the art of being a coordinator like Audrey.
I recommend doing it. Keep an open mind, be adaptable, and you'll be surprised how rewarding it can be, I think.
I'm sure you'll all agree that's a fantastic video showcasing a real Homeshare household. And they mentioned there about banter, and then we got some nice clips. Audrey and Ramona got some nice clips of them actually doing that banter, which just shows that amazing friendship. And they've both, John and Nick, spoken there about the key benefits for both of them involved and how it's positively impacted their lives. So thank you, Audrey and Homeshare West, and John and Nick, for sharing a bit of an insight into your household. So I'm now going to pass to Anne-Marie Bagnall, who is Professional of Health and Wellbeing Evidence at Leeds Beckett University.
Hi everyone. I'm really pleased to be here today to tell you about our evaluation of Homeshare in Leeds, which is where I'm based. Because we did a local evaluation of Homeshare, but also to talk about the wider benefits and the wider evidence about Homeshare, because there is quite a good evidence base as well as the anecdotal evidence we've just heard. And I'm taking a perspective about older people here, because as well as being Homeshare Week, tomorrow is the International Day of Older People. So yes, thank you, Jess. So this is from the Centre for Ageing Better, and the theme for this year's International Day of Older People is so appropriate to Homeshare because it's about building belonging and celebrating the power of our social connections. And I know everybody here understands, how much older people have to offer society as well as younger people. It's Homeshare has benefits for both, and that's something that we found in our evaluation of Homeshare, is that it's the reciprocity, the companionship works both ways. And as they say on the Centre for Ageing Better website, older people play an integral part in strengthening the social fabric of our communities. Their contributions are vital in fostering a strong sense of belonging across generations, which is essential to well-being at every age. And we've just seen so many examples of that, really. It's also building understanding between generations, and somebody said in the last clip, Homeshare is the answer to so many of society's problems. And I think that's true. Because just to touch on a couple of issues that are prevalent today, loneliness is a big thing. And we used to think that it only applied to older people. And all the research had only been done in older people, so we had no evidence about who was really lonely. But more recently, in the last 10 years or so, there's been more research done in other age groups. And it's actually found out that 16 to 24-year-olds are the loneliest age group, because that's the age that many leave the family at home and their support network. And you saw someone in the last clip there saying, coming home, it's hard to be on your own at this age, but coming home to someone to talk about your day, it just feels more natural and normal. There's also, they did a survey, Intergenerational England, and there's a link to that organisation there to say that most people agree that cross-generation contact can increase mutual respect and reduce age-based stereotypes, which is really important these days, and also to reduce loneliness. So when I got involved with Homeshare, which was about 10 years ago, there was a national evaluation of a pilot scheme trying to make more home shares across the country. And this is a diagram that came from that national evaluation. And it echoes a lot of what's already been said about Homeshare. So the benefits include improvement in well-being, companionship for both home sharers and householders, support with daily living for the householders mainly, low cost accommodation for the sharers, intergenerational learning, and costs avoided to health and care services. So that's sort of for the wider system. And this is the sort of thing that we report to the government to say, carry on, you should fund this. This is saving money. This is allowing people to live independently in their homes and saving all sorts of costs. And the challenges that were highlighted in that evaluation were challenges with sharing space, particularly when you've been used to living on your own for a long time. And that's something that the coordinators were very skilled with dealing with. Escalation of householder needs. So if a householder becomes more poorly and needs more care, that can be challenging for the home sharer. But again, the coordinators were very good at dealing with that. The timing of support. So the main issue with that we found is that householders don't identify themselves as being in need of support often until they're in need of more support than the home sharer can offer, because none of us like to think of ourselves as old. And this is something that we found in our evaluation as well, was that older people wanted to help younger people as much as the younger people wanting to help older people. So by the time they were thinking about getting more support in the home, sometimes people needed more support than Homeshare could give. So that's why it's important to raise awareness of Homeshare so that you can access it at a time that's right for you. And conflict resolution could be a challenge, but as Audrey said, it's very rare that actually happens. It's usually really minor things to do with sharing space, or perhaps just a thing like perhaps not being there enough. Things that help were the support, obviously, maintaining personal space. So having a discussion about boundaries, open communication, and doing regular activities together. So that could be just something like watching the telly, just having normal companionship, but sometimes going out to regular activities. Next slide, please, Jess. Okay, so in our evaluation that took place between 2016 and 2020 in Leeds, we talked to 19 people. We did a little survey at baseline to see how lonely people were. And there wasn't much difference here between homeowners and home sharers. Both were substantively lonely using this scale. Both were over 9, scored over 9 on a scale that goes from 0 to 12, and 12 is at the loneliest stage. We weren't able to follow up that survey, unfortunately, to find out what their scores were, but we did do a lot of talking to people and found that they anecdotally, they said they felt much better, much less lonely. And they mentioned lots of benefits that we've already mentioned here: companionship, friendship, feeling safe, support and peace of mind for families of homeowners, wider social connections into the community, and and financial benefits. And on the next slide, we've got some quotations. So here we have the first quotations from a home sharer. Our values might be different slightly, but as people, we're not different at all. I don't think there's a barrier when it comes to ages. It's a preconception that needs to be broken down because it doesn't exist. The homeowner, make them welcome when they first come. Give them all the help you possibly can. If they don't know the area, tell them about the area and the park, and pick out various things where they can go if they want to be on their own. Show them where the bus stops are and the shops are. This local knowledge is so helpful for people moving into a new area in particular. And the stakeholder, that's somebody that we spoke to that's part of the organisation of Homeshare. It's not a one-way thing, just a younger adult offering support to an older person. It works both ways, and I think that's what really appeals to me about it. And I think there's some links to further information there. I think our evaluation report link, I put the wrong one in, so Jess has put the right one in the chat. Thank you. So if anyone wants to read more about it, it's all there. And if anyone wants to get in touch, that's fine too. Love to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. If anyone has any questions for Anne-Marie, please do pop them in the chat or anything around the Homeshare evaluation. We've also had some coming through generally in the last few minutes as well. So Audrey, Emma, Nicola, you may also want to answer these. So we have a couple of questions from Donna. The first one is, would home sharers be allowed visitors if they have children who are in the care of someone else, however the client still has contact? Would that be feasible?
That depends upon the householder. It's something that will be covered in the interview process, the matching process. Yes, sometimes it's more often it's the man who has his children for the weekend, perhaps, but the children don't live with him normally. And so, yes, it can happen. If the householder agrees, fine. If the householder doesn't, no.
I think there's also something about maintaining the boundaries as well, so it doesn't become that the householder takes on any of the childcare, etc. So it's setting those clear expectations as well from the start.
Thank you both. And the next question from Donna is, if a householder passes away, do you support the home sharer to find accommodation?
Sometimes yes, because we can move the home share into another arrangement where there will be another compatible match. But if we don't have a suitable arrangement that another household that we can move a share to, then they will have a month to find somewhere for themselves. But we don't provide accommodation for them when the match comes to an end. Emma?
Yeah, I'd agree. And it's often about signposting or pointing out options for them. And it may also be about signposting to bereavement support as well. Sometimes I've heard this anecdotally that the family have valued having a share in the property if the homeowner householder has passed away, just while they're tying things up as well. So that's why there is that month to find somewhere else.
And Jude asks, can homeshare still take place when the householder has a package of care?
Most definitely.
Well nodded. Yeah, I think it works alongside, doesn't it, quite well, because you have carers coming in to do that kind of task-based, yeah, kind of limited time that they've maybe got. Plus you've got your home sharer there overnight or for company or, you know, little tasks that the carers wouldn't be able to do. And as Audrey said, I think it was Audrey that said that, yeah, they've even had people with live-in carers and a home sharer, and that's worked quite well in that situation.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. We hope you have enjoyed today's session. We would love, of course, if you think you know somebody that could benefit from Homeshare, then please do visit homeshareuk.org, where you will find our provider map. So the network members that Nicola spoke about earlier, you'll be able to find all of their contact details, which of course includes Homeshare West, Leeds Homeshare, Homeshare Oxfordshire, and many others across the UK. And get in touch and have a chat with us. And if you have any further questions, then we'd be more than happy to answer those.